pleaded the Fifth when he was asked to turn over his PGP passphrase, and that was a legitimate use of his Fifth Amendment rights. Now we're getting pretty good at a few things. We are doing things like we're using Silk. I see a lot of people on Silk. A lot of people are using, if they're using IRC, they're doing IRC over SSL, which at least people are starting to chat, and we're disappearing off of those nasty public IRC servers that have nodes all over the freaking planet that anyone can listen to. So I mean, come on, that's all in plain text. At least we're getting off of there, which is very good. I would say use encryption for even mundane things. Okay, if you've got someone else's PGP key, I'm as bad about this as anyone else. I'm going to start doing this. And it's usually with the modern mailers, you can usually set a preference of encrypt if I've got the other person's key. Turn that on. All right, in the little GUI in your mailer, or the setting in your config file that allows you to do that, and make that happen. I also recommend using Tor. Use Tor, particularly if you're going to continue down the road of doing reverse engineering, particularly as things get nastier. I know some of you have made names for yourselves as researchers by saying, here's me and I'm posting on BugTrack and I kick ass and look at all this cool shit I'm doing. Go through Tor, set up an anonymous account on some mail system. You're going through Tor, so that gives you some layer of protection as to who you are, and post from there. Create a new identity for this research stuff. We're probably going to have to head that direction as it stands. And just one other thing I want to do here, and I want to take a few questions at the end. I wanted to give a bonus prediction, okay? Because this is wild and wacky in this talk. So my bonus prediction is key escrow. I think key escrow is going to happen. I really do. France has it. They've been doing it for years. They've been doing it for almost 10 years. Basically, if you have encryption in France, if you're doing any encrypting at all, you have to supply the government with a key so that they can decrypt the data. In England, England is now enacted this. In the UK, Tony Blair, who's basically on his way out, is a fairly controversial part of the Regulation of Investigatory Powers Act, or RIPA, over in the UK. Now, this even though RIPA was passed 6 years ago, this particular section was not enacted. 2 weeks ago, it was enacted by Tony Blair. And that means that it is a crime to withhold your encryption key from the police. So if the police come to you and want your keys and you don't turn it over to them, you're breaking the law. I don't know whether this applies to citizens from other countries. So it would be interesting to see. So, all of a sudden that whole idea of using technologies like rubber hose all of a sudden makes a lot of sense. So there's my bonus thing. I would think that, that the U.S. government is finally going to say, hey, if we're getting away with it in Europe, and Europe has much more stringent privacy laws and everything, that we can probably get away with it here, because it's a country of sheeple who will believe anything the military industrial entertainment complex comes up with through television. So I want to thank you. I'll take a few questions. If you got any questions, I think we've got just 5 minutes or so. So if anyone's got any questions, just fire away. Yeah, right there.
In your earlier part of your talk, you mentioned that AES was broken by the U.S. government.
Yes. To repeat the question, I mentioned that AES was breakable by the U.S. government. Why did they approve it for secret and top secret stuff? The word I've been giving is that it's not being used for top secret stuff in a lot of areas, that there are encryption algorithms and stuff that have been developed by the NSA that are specifically used for stuff they really deem to be critical. Now, it is either that they possibly believe that they're the only ones that can break it. Maybe it requires some type of super duper huge ass computer the size of several city blocks, and they've got one, and they're the only ones that has the computing power to do it. Or truthfully, I don't know. It was perplexing to me when I heard it. It really was. Another reason might be because if they're telling people that we're doing secret and top secret stuff with AES, that all of the evil people in the world start using AES, and now they can get their shit, which is another possibility. But truthfully, I don't know that, and no one's ever answered that question adequately for me. Way in the back, white shirt. What was I couldn't hear this. Hold on, let me get the microphone over there to you.
Realistically speaking, how many of us do you think will just get fed up with it and move?
I think there's some actual talk of that. I mean, I already have friends that live overseas that will not travel to the United States. There's been some famous, well, not famous, but made some press, like when Alan Cox resigned from the Usenix because they're planning all their committee stuff over here in the U.S. and he says, I'm not going to go over there. I don't want to be a criminal because of what I do for a living, even though he's basically just working on the the Linux kernel for the most part. There are researchers that are in Russia that will only present at security conferences that are, I think the closest they'll get to the United States is going to be CanSec West, which is in Canada. So I mean, there's, truthfully, we have it pretty good here. I mean, overall, we do have it pretty good here. The privacy laws are a lot better in Europe, but it's a trade-off because you go to the UK and there's cameras everywhere, and then now they got this new thing with the RIPA Act, which they've already got it a law where if you create a virus, there's a law in the books that says if you write a virus or exploit code, that's illegal. It's not enacted, but there is actually. I don't remember the exact wording, but basically if you write exploit code and you're in England, you're in danger of being arrested. So, I mean, it's not a great place to live. That just hasn't been used. But truthfully, I don't know how many people will leave. And quite frankly, I mean, there's a part of me that would prefer to stay and fight. I was born here. I don't want to give this shit up. We do have it pretty good here for the most part. I mean, we're all here. A lot of us flew here, on big fat planes. We all, eat sushi and, we can afford Starbucks for God's sakes. I mean, my God, that stuff's expensive as hell. We're there all the time. I mean, it's pretty good here. They don't have Starbucks in some of the places that are where you can do this stuff legally and freely, That's the sad fact of it. One couple more questions. Right there on the aisle.
I was going to say one of the possible answers questions of mandatory key escrow would seem to be obviously steganography, where there isn't even verifiable proof that there is a concealed message.
Yeah, using steganography is actually that's an excellent idea. Now, one could argue that it's possible. I mean, and I could do a talk. I know Druid has done. He's going to be talking tomorrow. He's done talks on steganography. You can do a whole on just that, that's one other thing. If you haven't looked, throw that into Google and look up what steg is and how you can apply that. Make that a part of your encryption scheme. I would layer things though. Make sure that whatever you're going to be encoding into a picture or movie or however you're encoding it, make sure it's encrypted first before you do it. And safe encryption, okay, where you decompress, encrypt, securely wipe the plain text. Don't leave it sitting there on the drive with just the header information deleted so the feds can come in and confiscate it. Oh, here's another thing too, one other word of warning in case you're worried about the feds confiscating your computer. There's a new tool called SS Deep. This is a freeware tool. You know how they'll do like MD5 hashes of files and be able to identify files based upon their existence on your drive, but if you've overwritten parts of them, then it basically negates it. SS Deep works on portions of files and does fingerprint. It's like fuzzy MD5 fingerprinting of files and everything, so it's being used. Look out for that. That's kind of a interesting little tidbit. I should have saved that for the lightning talk. Sorry. One more question. Where who? Here?
Yeah. Just with regards to the steganography, when Niels Provost was in grad school, he did a survey of tools and found they all sucked and were easily detectable. So if somebody wants to write a really good steg tool, that would be great.
Yeah, the stuff that, look up, just for a reference on that, www.outguess.org. And that's Neil's website where he's got the tools that he uses to do steg, the tools he uses to break steg in pictures, and a few other interesting tidbits that you guys would probably find fairly interesting. And yeah, I actually contributed to some of the research. As many of you, probably have, as I do, huge porn collections. I immediately turned my steg stuff, these steg detection tools on this massive porn collection, which I was collecting and thinking in the future I'll probably want to see if there's steg in it. That was the only reason I was collecting it, I swear. But nonetheless, it was funny. I actually did find some steg in one file, and that was a file that was got off of desktopgirls.net, and it was a picture of Sandra Bullock, and there was actual steg in it, which was kind of weird. I went ahead and I actually turned that over to. This is right after 9/11 when I found it. I actually got real patriotic and turned it over to the feds and say, "This is where I found this thing. It got uploaded, something in it." I never heard back anything, but I didn't expect to anyway. But anyway, I'm going to have to stop. My time's up. We want to keep on schedule on the con. So anyway, thanks a lot. I appreciate the time, and I'll see you guys again.